Welcome back to the show. We are still discussing the budget with our panelists. And Wema, before we went for break, we were discussing national disasters and how we fail in mitigating them. I want to take a very specific case which happened this week, the Gikomba market. 6 months ago, about 6 months ago, the Gikomba market burned down. And there was a beehive of activity. Leaders went there. They said this is the last time it's going to happen. The guys were promised a lot of stuff. About 6 months later, the same thing happened. But this time around, the difference is a majority of the leaders, including the Nairobi city governor, didn't go to the site and condole people on those stuff. Yet, Nairobi County, for example, the other day the governor has presented over 17 firefighters, which he said each constituency must have one. Gikomba is just even less than 15 minutes walk if you walk from the city center. Yeah. Yet, 15 people died, over 60 are hospitalized. Where are we getting wrong, or what is the issue with Gikomba, or why is fairs not ever ending?
It's not really the problem is with Gikomba. I think really the problem stems from a lot of things. One of them obviously being infrastructure that really sidelines a lot of this, market vendors who need proper structures, proper systems. If you go to Gikomba, you can hardly move around, So really it's one, the county governments needs to take responsibility on how our hawkers and how our market traders operate, one. And then secondly, really it's about who are you voting for? When I look at my MCA, he's a person who's supposed to be lobbying for some of these things to be really passed on to the governor. The senator really is supposed to be discussing these things with the governor. There should be a chain of communication that really exists within our leadership. And I feel that there is that gap in the sense that our voting, how we vote is not really based on how skilled the people we are voting for are. And so our leaders don't walk the talk.
Talking of how we vote and vis-a-vis our leaders, yesterday there was a demo in the CBD. And mostly the people who are demonstrating are from the CBD and outside the CBD, more of Gikomba, which is Kamkunji and those places. These are the same people who are campaigning for these people.
True.
We have not even finished a year. Do you think they have elected the wrong people, or is it them who have wrong issues?
I think really we need to look at how we vote, why we vote, and who you're voting for. I think where we need to change our habits. Because we are really focused on, let's vote 6-piece. But you don't know who you're voting for. What are their skills? Are they really qualified to be defending and communicating to the government what your needs are? And maybe this is the missing link.
Patrick, we all talk like Wemo when we talk about people who we vote. Yet during the election, I don't know what possesses us, what overtakes us. We always say we should be voting for people based on, that's when there's no politics, when things are calm. Immediately election comes, politicians come addressing us, say, who you see when, who you see where to. Our minds changes. How do we overcome all these things before we go discuss the county budgets?
I think first we need to acknowledge that our politicians are very good at what they do. They're very good at putting on very convincing shows. They know the hot buttons to push, to pull on our emotional strings and get us to vote how they want us to vote. But at some point, the responsibility shifts from them to us. You see, if we continue electing them, then it's working for them. They're getting what it is that they want. But we are the ones who are suffering. At some point, we as the voters need to wake up and realize that we are employing this person. This person, we are giving them an opportunity to serve us, and they are not delivering. We need to realize that a big part of our responsibility is not just to vote, but to also hold them accountable to the promises that they make to us that give us that impetus to elect them. We need to do this on all levels of society. And I have an indictment for the middle class, because many of these things do not affect them too much. It's things they see on news and they really sympathize and they really empathize and they're safe in their bubble. But it is until all of us care about these issues. All of us say, no, we cannot have our roads in this state. No, we cannot have our hospitals in this state. No, we cannot have members of parliament using their salary, which comes from our taxes, to go to foreign countries to receive treatment that we cannot afford. It is until all of us, on all the social classes, say no, this one we will not stomach, that we will begin to see change.
Now, talking of you can add.
Yeah, I was going to say, and in agreement with that, even the demonstrations are evidence of the change. People are actually waking up and realizing my MP owes me something. I can't live on my street in the estate that is puddled up, that doesn't have electricity, it's not safe. I have to be home by 7 o'clock because after that is disaster. Where people are actually realizing, these guys, we are hiring them to do us a job. And if they're going to have a job, they're going to have to, one, be skilled enough to do that job, and two, realize they need to deliver on that job.
Now, and talking of, you said it's good that when people demonstrate, they're talking about their right. They say they are our MP or anything. But the last 1 month alone, we have been given many scandals that if we were to count and add those figures, I think it will be more than 200 B. Yeah? Are we angry enough as a country?
We were actually talking about that earlier and recognizing that maybe we might be a bit suffering from amnesia, as she said, because 1 minute this is happening, and before you've even finished, absorbing what has happened, something new comes up. And I feel we are taking a lot of beating, really, but what can we do? I think that is the question in terms of all these scandals that keep coming up. And looking at the tax as a loophole for more of these things to keep coming up. Really, it's just about us and putting our foot down and saying, you know what, I cannot stand for this. And until we have systems in place that are going to hold people accountable for all the money that they're stealing from the taxpayers, then maybe we'll keep hearing of more scandals. And I hope that with this new budget, there is a provision in the billions for anti-corruption commission. I hope that is why they're being allocated that much.
Some are saying it should be disbanded.
It has its own challenges. But to add on to what Wemo is saying, when the teachers are misbehaving, you look at the principal. When the people who we have put in office are misbehaving, we should look at the president. He's the one who should keep his team in check, because together, all of them are supposed to deliver services to us. They're supposed to deliver certain protections to us. They're supposed to keep us safe from certain issues. So when these issues are so many, to a point where if we count them just this month alone, as you've mentioned, they amount to staggering amounts of money. It is us to look to the president, the principal, the father.
Yeah. You can say Baba, no problem.
No, I thought about it, then I was like, if I say Baba, I was referring to a different one, but I mean father. Yeah. The father of the home, basically. To bring back order. To say, you know what, no, these ones we will not have. And there's an interview he did where he was saying he will actually jail people. He will actually take very harsh measures. Now for us, we're waiting to see, will he actually follow through with his promises?
We hope he follows. Now, talking of accountability and holding these guys accountable, I'll be a bit digging into the county issues. Right now, there's a governor who is in jail as we speak. I don't know that he has been released in the last few hours, but it's a public knowledge. This is a public knowledge. It's not something we are just making up. The Busia County governor. Unfortunately, this morning, while I was going through the papers, I saw one of his lawyers who represent him, and he's a senator. And then the Senate is supposed to oversight the county governments. Yet a senator who happens to be a lawyer is representing this guy in court. Where do we draw the line, even for lawyers?
That one
is before we go digging.
Because we cannot have somebody who is supposed to oversee a different individual being their advocate. You cannot oversee somebody and at the same time be their defender. And we need clear oversight of the roles. So it is not just of your job when we're talking about oversight. We also need to see how does what you do interact with the other officers within the government to make sure that we do not have a situation just like this one.
This is called moral authority. If you don't have the moral authority, you cannot...
To play devil's advocate, what they will probably present to the public to put it in perspective, they will tell you that when the senator is in court, he's an advocate. He is not a senator, so he will go to court and speak on the law. Then when he'll go to parliament, he'll go and speak now as a senator.
But I'm the same human being who will come to court And who at the same time, these guys, the governor's issue can come to the floor of the House, which is the Senate. Do I have the option to abstain, but I can, I have the option to abstain and say, like the way a judge of the High Court can withdraw from a case and say, I have a conflict of interest in this case, so I'm not going to handle it. But I think it's a bit, we need to redefine the laws.
It'll be confusing, definitely. The aesthetics.
Also recognizing that the devolved government did not truly, we didn't really think about it as the people passing a new constitution that was going to really open up and distribute resources, in the sense that there's a lot of blurred lines. We don't know what the MCA is supposed to do to the MP, what they're supposed to, what their qualifications are. We just know that now there's more of the cake for us to share, So
we are in the second phase of devolution. She talked about bloodlines, things to be redefined. We are in the second phase of devolution. We have had 5 years. And if you look at the amount of money that was spent in devolution, it's a huge amount of money.
Yes.
The hurdles notwithstanding. I come from a region, where things are not as good as the people want to look it. Maybe there are no roads. Now the thing is, what if, for example, the budgets? Now we have seen the national counting budget. The county's government receive about 15%, right, of the national cake. There's also the equalization fund. What will you judge, or what's your take on the county budget? Some of them passes outrageous taxation, like if you want to bury a dead person who's not from this county, you should pay a certain amount of money, as if you know who is from which county. How do you even identify who is from which county? So
I think the county budgets, some of them are quite outrageous, as you've pointed out, and there's definitely a gap that I see, because you see, when the national government gives the county government a budgetary allocation, I think it serves to make the counties lax in their own revenue generation, because you see, the whole purpose of devolution was to make, for lack of a better word, small mini national governments, so that just as the national government has a responsibility to raise its own taxes and its own funds, the county government also has a responsibility to raise its own funds. Now, most of the county governments are relying very heavily on the national government's budgetary allocation, and they're not really paying so much attention to the revenue that they could be raising. This is relevant because...
And this raising, and sorry, I'm not trying to cut you short, but even the revenue they collect, it is hard to trace.
It is hard to trace. And that's why we want... we were having a different conversation around this, and we were saying what would be most effective is to bring in systems for revenue allocation. One of the things that was kept being talked about as the budget was being read was ICT. If we could leverage this ICT equipment and implement revenue collection systems within the counties that are automated, what that will do is it will seal up the little holes where we are losing money. Because on every level, there's money that is being lost.
As we wind up, Treasury has said that IFMIS should be rolled in all counties. We are losing billions of shillings when we already have IFMIS at the national level. Do you think it's something advisable to do, to have IFMIS at there, or do we bring a different system? Because IFMIS has failed the national government, if you ask me. What do you think?
Honestly, I feel there's a lot of work that needs to be done from the ground up, in the sense that what we already have is not working. So to start blasting it to the rest of the counties to implement is just really going to be another waste of time, another waste of allocation of resources to train these people to use this. I think it's just a matter of being very honest with the, where we are as a country. And I'm really, being patriotic, I'm feeling very disappointed that as a country, Rwanda is growing faster than we are. Ethiopia is growing faster than we are.
In fact, we are going to Rwanda for a benchmark.
You see,
we have reached that level.
Now going to
Nairobi County government wanted to go to Rwanda for benchmarking.
Just to put that in, I think on paper, we are a 50-something-year-old economy. And I think we are feeling the pressure of we should be talking about ICT, we should be talking about being on the global platform. But we are forgetting that those who are at the global platform have sorted out the basic minimum, the bare minimum. People, even in South Africa, they're not worried about roads, but we are trying to catch up with them in terms of what they are doing or what other countries are doing in terms of progressing and growth, and we're forgetting we don't even have our bare minimum in order.
And looking back, really, just to add up to that, it's really recognizing that in previous administrations that we've had, they've been realistic. They've been looking at where we are and what needs we have as a country. The Kibaki government really worked on our infrastructure by recognizing that through infrastructure, then we are able to start growing and accessing the deeper parts of this country.
Thank you. We don't have much time. We're winding up. I would like to remind our viewers, that was the show we had today. It was about the budgeting with Wema, Kitawa, Patrick Nyanja, and Nicole Wamboi. As we wind up, I congratulate you. Thank you for giving us your time. I'm sure we'll have discussed so many things, but time is on our side. But definitely we will call you back. But you can always, we will have this conversation in future. Definitely. I would like to remind our viewers that we are live on our social media platform, Facebook at Horizon TV Kenya, at Twitter at Horizon TV Kenya, myself at Ahmed Qadarwan. Thank you and enjoy the show.